We are recording. We'll call this regular committee of the whole meeting to order on Tuesday, January 28th, 2020 at 7 p.m. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have anyone that would like to speak under public participation? Okay. Moving right down, we have an appointment of Ward 2 Alderman. Colby Leith is interested in the position. Colby, would you like to come up here and just give some background on who you are?
Well, my name is Colby Leith. I'm 25 years old. I was born and raised here in Lincoln, Illinois, and I'm currently an apprentice plumber at Dean Leith Plumbing and Heating, and I'm also a personal trainer at Anytime Fitness.
Ron?
Thank you, Mayor. Well, first of all, we appreciate your interest. This is public service, and it's not, sometimes it's a thankless job, so we appreciate you wanting to come forward to present your interest. Tell us why this interests you, and tell us a little bit of why you love Lincoln and what you want to do for the city of Lincoln.
Well, as I stated, I was born and raised here, and my family has the local plumbing business here in town. My grandpa started it in 1950, and soon enough, I will be owning that business. And as alderman, I feel like it would just be another way to be a bigger part of the community.
Thank you.
Anyone have anything else?
It's on the agenda for next week.
Okay. Place that on the agenda. Thanks, Colby.
Thank you.
Thanks, Colby.
Next, we have the Lincoln Speedway update. Mr. Mackey.
Good to see all you guys again. A lot of familiar faces, so I know it's been a few years for us. I think our first season as a company taking Lincoln Speedway was 2016, and it's going pretty well for us. Always looking to do better, and big for us was just receiving for 2020 the Dirt Car Fall Nationals in the month of October. That's going to bring a lot of people to the area for 2 to 3 days. It's definitely going to help hotels. It's going to help restaurants. It's going to help convenience stores, gas stations. October 1st to 3rd is going to be pretty big for not only us at the track, but for a lot of businesses in the area. So we're looking forward to building that up, being big, and that's a national event. So basically, it's the same sort of divisions that we run on a normal basis, but there'll be people coming from a wider area: Michigan, Indiana, Ohio. Obviously all across the state of Illinois, Missouri. So that's a pretty big deal for us, and we're really, really looking forward to that. And then hopefully it becomes a year after year event. Be very similar to what we do, only bigger scale. I'm sure the campground area will be full at the fairgrounds, and hotels will be filling up, and we're just looking forward to it. Other than that, I think everything went pretty good for us in 2019. I think we completed like 10 of our 12 events, had a couple of rainouts, had one rain-dated event. All of our ends got done in a pretty timely time, many of them before 10 o'clock, some of them before 9:30. So we really work hard to run a quick program and not have a lot of delays in between our events, and that's going pretty well for us too. Any questions?
Tracy.
I don't believe you had any late events last year, did you?
I think one night we had 10:36 was our latest event, and it was the last night of the year. I think it's the only one that we went past even 10:30, so it was pretty good.
Okay. Perfect.
Any other questions? Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you guys.
Thank you. Huh? It has to be. It has to be approved.
All right. We'll place consent or regular?
Consent agenda.
Consent. All right. Illinois American Water. Gabe?
Good evening. Thanks for the opportunity to speak tonight. When Beth and I had talked a few weeks ago about an update for you guys, I expected it to be a more robust update than I'll have tonight for you. In October of 2018, we had announced plans to begin a study on the future of the water production in Lincoln. And we'll have an update for that in the next couple of weeks that are quite exciting. But for tonight, what I want to talk about is part of that is a 1 million gallon water storage tank, elevated storage tank that we've acquired 2.5 acres from the Woods Foundation on Heitman Road, just south of the retention pond that the city owns. And construction will be taking place soon. We just received bids on those. We're looking at a completion date in 2021. But activity will begin taking place. So we want to make sure that you're aware that that was taking place. And we'll provide more updates on the rest of the production information in the weeks to come. A part of the water tower, one of the things that we want to do is make sure that the city has an opportunity to have a logo and the city's name in whatever style that the city would like. We've gotten a couple of examples. I think we're looking at making some changes to our city logo potentially. And in the months ahead, we'll need to kind of finalize that, but we'd like to have that. It would probably be 15 feet tall and would face whatever direction we decide working with you guys would be most appropriate. So that's a big thing that'll be taking place. It'll be 1 million gallons. The fire chief, I think, will tell you that that's very exciting for our ratings with ISO. That's one of the things that will help us out quite a bit to maybe get to the next level in the ISO ratings. Any questions?
Trace?
And just because I was on some of the emails, but just to be clear, there's no cost to the city to do this. Illinois American Water is doing this in conjunction with the city.
That's right. You know, we could say, hey, it's going to be $20,000. Would you like to do it? You say no, and then we say, okay, we'll take care of it. So rather than ask you if you want to do it, we're just going to take care of it.
Yeah, we appreciate it. Thank you.
Beth?
I just want to say thank you too. And how many miles away can we see this logo?
I don't know. We'll see. There's some trees that are there, so who knows how it's actually going to look from the highway. But we've got some pictures that we're taking from a drone at the proper height. So we'll look at that. Our logo is going to be on there. We want it to be seen, but I really want the image of Lincoln and the city of Lincoln to be the most prominent, where it's going to benefit the city the most. So we'll work on the exact location at a later date.
Great. Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Before Gabe leaves, I'd like to thank this gentleman for helping us get the new water reads over. He did a tremendous job to get all those new averages to us. We had to do the other part. Sorry, Gabe. But you gave us the most important part. Thank you so much for all that. The sewer girls and the city clerk's office appreciates that.
Well, Peggy, thank you so much. I appreciate that. We want to really communicate that we want to be a partner for Lincoln, and whatever American Water can do, we want to do. So we want to, if you have people in your wards that have requests of their water, they have issues with their water, we really want to hear that. And so we can prioritize main replacements, hydrant replacements, and the such. We want to be a good partner. We want to hear what you need. And whatever we can do, we want to try and do. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Moving down, Mission Lincoln 2021.
All right. Hi, folks. I'm Todd Henry. I'm a father of 2 and a husband of 1 from Lincoln. And I'm also a special ed teacher at Central Elementary here in town. But I'm coming to talk to you in a different capacity tonight about a nonprofit organization that does some awesome work during the summers. And we have the opportunity to bring one of these projects to Lincoln to make a huge impact on our community and our residents, actually in the summer of 2021. So I'd like to start off with a short video clip that kind of gives an overview, and then give you a little bit of information, and then certainly any questions would be great. Okay. Yeah, so can't narrate those slides. Those aren't right.
Imagine the impact. Imagine the effort. Imagine the service. Imagine the hope. Can you think of a better way to bring help to your community than having an enthusiastic workforce of around 400 teenagers and their adult leaders completing needed home repairs for your neighbors? Well, that's exactly what a group work camp can do. For 1 week during the summer, we can transform houses, communities, and lives through home repair projects for folks in need. Our participants volunteer a week of their summer and actually pay for the opportunity to serve people with needed repairs in your community. It's their way of putting faith into action while they experience personal growth and the power of transforming entire neighborhoods while connecting with residents who simply seek a helping hand. It's powerful. During the week, our participants will meet new friends, develop useful skills, and connect with the residents as they work in their 6-person crew. Each crew has at least one adult who works right alongside the students. All crews are also encouraged and guided by our staff of site coaches, construction-savvy folks that help keep the projects moving. Work projects we can do include interior and exterior painting, repairing and replacing porches, building ramps, weatherizing, insulating, placing underpinning or skirting, and roof coating on mobile homes, roof repairs and overlays of old roofs, drywall, and siding repairs. If there are other projects needing attention, just ask, and we will consider them. But sorry, no plumbing or for one resident, trying to complete every repair item selected for that person. Connecting with the homeowner is a crucial part of our service. As the home is transformed, the students, as well as the resident we serve. Now, we realize that the thought of 400 teenagers and their adult leaders storming your community can be a bit frightening. Let me assure you that Group Mission Trips Work Camps has this well taken care of. We've been conducting these projects in communities all over the U.S. with willing partners like you for decades. We have this down. Just get a listen to what our co-sponsor partners say about working with us.
We have been truly blessed in this community to have group come back here and partner with us, and us partnering with them. It's meant a lot to the city, it's meant a lot to the residents. To date, we've done over 1,000 houses in the city of Racine. This is one of these programs that you would hope eventually that you wouldn't need because all your houses are fixed up or your housing's in great shape. We know in reality that that's never going to be the case, and as long as we need the help, Group has promised that they would come back and help us, and that's a relationship that we enjoy, and we have enjoyed these past 20 years, and we hope it goes on for more years to come.
We'll go ahead and hop out of that and hop to this other here, just because I think that might press to go. Okay. There we go. So what I'm talking about, the organization is Group Work Camps and Group Mission Trips. Group Mission Trips is kind of the parent nonprofit organization out of Fort Collins, Colorado. And Group Work Camps is what they do, is bringing 400 teenagers into communities across the United States to do work on tons of homes. And the kids raise like $450 a piece to come and do this. So they pay for this working vacation kind of thing, stuff like that, which is kind of impressive endeavor by itself. Group Work Camp's been doing this for 29 years. So far, there's been over 500,000 participants, 1,400 million volunteer hours that have been logged by teenagers all over the country since they started this long ago. This picture kind of best sums up kind of what happens on a work camp, is that teenagers are on there with adults to guide them, and this is a wheelchair ramp and a porch that they're putting on a home. It's amazing, really, to see how much teenagers can accomplish. These are projects probably that seasoned professionals could do in 2 days, but we purposely make it so that it's going to take 3 or 4 days, but that they have all the items they need, all the instructions and the materials. And it's a tremendous accomplishment when they walk away knowing I hammered those nails, I put those boards together, I made this safe to city and to state code, and that it changed a life for a resident in mobility or structure of their house, and that kind of stuff. My association with Group Mission Trips began 21 years ago, actually. I've done over 45 work camps like this. I love the big crowd of the teenagers and the chaos. I love what they can accomplish and what they can do, and I think that their generation has definitely put down a lot, and this is just a huge plug for them, what they can accomplish when you challenge their energy in the right direction. My role a lot of times is assistant director of the camps, so I'm the upfront guy. There's another director that's kind of behind the scenes. And so we have evening programs that we do, and that's what you're seeing there, and we use the gymnasiums of local schools, and we do different programs like drama and music and different things, and where kids come back and talk about what they did with the rest of the group, and they really see an opportunity to put their faith in action, that their faith isn't something that is just spoken, but it's kind of sometimes you don't use words, you just do things for others for the right reasons. After doing these, I then began to bring people from our own community. These guys are all from the Lincoln area to come serve as site coaches, and Gabe Bowden's in there as well. And their role is to help the students. You get 6 teenagers and a youth leader on a work site. Most of them have probably not done these types of projects, and it's amazing how many teenagers have never picked up a drill or never used a power saw, those kinds of things. So we don't leave them on their own. We get some of these guys that are seasoned professionals and stuff that know what they're doing to kind of guide them, but don't do the work for them. The kids get to do it. This summer coming up in 2020, here's all the different places that Group Work Camps is going to be all over the United States. I'm actually taking a group. I normally do 1 or 2 a summer. We're going to Mexico, Missouri, there in the middle in July this year to participate, but they're on you can tell that they're, in rural Illinois. There's Appalachia. There's up in the Northeast. There's a couple Indian reservations in there. So very diverse, different cultures that they put the work camps in to make an impact. This is what we're shooting for, is July 2021 to do one work camp to bring 400 teenagers from around the country right here to Lincoln, Illinois, and to experience a work camp here. It's kind of been a dream of mine that 21 years to fly every place else and do this great work other places, and it'd be nice to have our own hometown kind of benefit from that. So that's what we're shooting for. So what's the impact? Transformation for 50 to 70 homes and families. That's about the number of projects that we can do with 400 students and staff. And they listed all the different things that we can do for them, from wheelchair ramps to porches. We don't build fancy decks, but porches that you'd be surprised how many trailers or homes that we've come across that have like a chair or something coming out a doorway. They don't even have steps. Guttering, lots of painting, siding, drywall, just a lot of different things. Again, you'd be amazed what these teenagers can accomplish and change the look of a home and its value. Transformation for these 400 students and youth leaders, just the opportunity for them to see that, hey, look what I can do if I, as young as I am, that I don't have to wait till I'm a grown-up to make an impact in my world, and to get a vision for just helping people back in their own home communities as well. They come from far away, and it seems like the Midwest is really attractive to people on the West and the East Coast. I've been in Nevada and had a youth group come down from Alaska. We've had youth groups from China come over. Some really long, far away places, and a lot of them like the long road trip. So chances are the teenagers that we'll have won't necessarily be coming from an hour away, but maybe 10 hours away from Tennessee and Virginia and Arkansas, different places. Transformation for the local economy. 1 week, $160,000 investment. One of the sheets that the sheet that I gave you that was from me there, it has, you guys have, yeah, right there. On the back of that, it shows kind of the investment that Group Work Camps does in a community in 1 week. It says $400,000, but $240,000 of that is what you would have paid someone to do the work for the week. So it's not necessarily a cash amount, but it is a huge investment of that much of a workforce. The rest of those things I added up, and it comes to about $160,000 that Group Work Camps as an organization, when they come in, between all the students, from all the facilities that we rent, and all the materials that we buy here locally. That's the kind of investment that a 400-student camp would make in the town of Lincoln during that week's time and stuff. So definitely, it makes a good impact. And then just transformation for the local community. I mean, we're working for the residents and doing some great things that they can't do for themselves. We are going to have a crew of volunteers recruiting lots of people from different churches and civic organizations and things like that to be involved to help host these 400 teenagers that are coming from all over the place. And then just connecting the generations, which is a big passion of mine, of just these teenagers interacting with folks and hearing their stories and really connecting with the residents in a personal way. So here's what the way a work camp works. They get a co-sponsor, which is a local nonprofit that signs on and says, yeah, we'll come and we'll bring this to this town. And it needs to be a certified nonprofit. Lincoln Christian Church, a while back, signed on to be that co-sponsor. And so really they signed on the dotted line and said they'd be responsible for working with Group Work Camps. And there's three main things that it comes to with being a co-sponsor that you have to do. And I'm kind of the team leader on that. One, the money. Around $30,000 or so for building supplies, materials, hosting the students, volunteer support expenses, just a variety of different things to come up with that cash amount. And then Group Work Camps matches that amount with the amount that they invest. We need a school. That what we do, we don't stay in hotels, but all 400 of these kids go to a local school and they sleep on the floor on air mattresses in classrooms, and we use gymnasium, the school cafeteria, that kind of thing. And then the third thing is just to find the people that are in need, a means to find an audience that whose houses can we work on? Are there enough here in the town of Lincoln that we can work on? So with the dollar amount, we've got a lot of different resources, from grants to businesses to government, churches, and individuals, avenues that we're pursuing. LCHS has signed a contract to actually host us, so we'll be at the high school for that week and stuff, and using all of their facilities. And we hire their janitorial staff and their cooking staff, and we use their cafeteria and things like that. And then Allison Rumler Gomez from Capsule is back there, and they've actually really come along as a huge partner, not only in having a real relationship with our audience of people that need these kind of things, and they're going to facilitate the application process and finding what homes we can work on and what we can do in this community, and they're connected with that with some of the stuff that they already do through their winterization program. But also they have some great grant writers, and so they also are helping us to pursue those things with local and national businesses as well. So what specifically does Mission Lincoln 2021 need from us? You may be asking Lincoln City Council. It's three things really. In a partnership with Mission Lincoln and City of Lincoln, I see one, a stamp of approval. I mean, your support is huge to say that that you welcome this to your community and believe that it's a viable thing, and to get behind us as we march forward in this process. Connections that you have with people in the community as resources, certainly be great. You all represent different neighborhoods and different places, and you may be in some of these neighborhoods actually to help us to find places to serve in. Just a tremendous resource of people in the community that could make this a great project. And then the money lifting part, and I'm not afraid to ask for money. So certainly cash-wise stuff is part of your budget to invest in that financially and stuff. We would not turn you away as well to be a part of that kind of thing. I should scoot back and say we're right now have pledged around 20,000 out of the 30,000 already, so we're well on our way to fulfilling our budget. And so that was kind of a minimum amount that we had to come with Group Work Camps to make a go ahead and say now they're going to definitely come and we're going to be on their calendar and that kind of thing. So here's the future for us. We got our contract signed back in October. This spring, we assemble our volunteer team. We do our fundraising, announce that. We kind of launch it publicly in the fall of 2020. We put out resident applications, make visits to home, decide where we're going to work. And then the spring 2021 will be the site writing, where we send out people to actually measure things and how much lumber it's going to take. That stands for group missions trip staffing. We'll decide what people will be coming from group missions trips to be here, and then do a lot of local PR to really kind of let the community know that these teenagers and youth leaders are coming, that kind of thing. So that's what we're hoping, is that we can have a partnership kind of forged between Group Work Camps and Capsule and the City of Lincoln to make this a really awesome opportunity to impact a lot of young lives and a lot of residents here in Lincoln. And that's kind of what I'm hoping. Thank you for your time very much, and certainly open to any questions.
Ron.
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks, Todd, for bringing this forward. And I'm a little bit familiar with this. I've seen you in action in one of those work camps, so I think it's a great thing. Can you speak a little bit more to the materials and the supplies, how they're acquired, and is that all local, or do you go to box stores to get a cheaper rate?
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, I want to do it all local, and we've already discussed that. And our local coordinating team has said, yeah, we want to keep everything local and have it impact Lincoln. Group Mission Trips is big enough that they do have relationships with big box stores because they do so many different places. But if it's a reasonable, I've talked to their executive director, and if it's a comparable cost, you know, if we can get some kind of negotiation, they know that they can't match the box stores, then they're fine with that. And honestly, it just comes back to how much money that we raise. So I'm cool with, if we have to raise a little bit more money to keep it all here local and to buy the materials here, then that's what I want to do. So it's in our court, it's our decision, I guess I should say. So that's what I want to do, is keep it all local and do that.
Thank you.
Steve?
Will you be anticipating any teenagers from Lincoln participating?
Actually, yeah. Thanks for asking. Last year, you know, that typically doesn't happen. I'm also a former youth pastor that did some of these trips as a youth minister, and honestly, it's kind of a hard sell to say raise $450. Let's go on this road trip across the street, you know, kind of thing. You know, like, no, I want to go. Like, man, I want to go down to Tennessee. I want to go water rafting. I want to do this, and then we'll work for Jesus a little bit. You know, that's an easier sell. But what's cool is we were in Minnesota last year, and they had a youth group of 40 from that town that helped get it all ready. And then that youth pastor took them an hour away to a hotel the night before it started so that they could arrive in their buses just like every other youth groups like that, and like go to the school, and they didn't get to go visit their homes and stuff. I mean, they were at that school like everybody else. And they had a unique experience because they got to work in neighborhoods where they live, and like they knew some of those neighbors and those people and stuff. I know that Zach Ramsey at Lincoln Christian Church is committed to doing that same kind of thing here, and so we have that opportunity to do that as well. And yeah, so I think that's an added bonus to, like I said, I don't envy him. It's a harder sell to kind of do that, but I think once to see the impact, and I know that that church specifically is kind of on the financial side going to help to convince kids to do that, you know, if that's what it takes to give our kids an opportunity to do that. So.
Sconzo?
Thank you, Mayor. I noticed there were, on that first map, you showed some dots of some places in Illinois. It looked like maybe around Cambridge or somewhere, Kewanee or somewhere up in there. Can you tell us where you've done this in Illinois?
Well, I know the closer ones they've had. I'm not sure the ones on there. I think there's one in Mexico, Missouri, and I think in Northeast Illinois this year. I know in the past the closest one is Mount Pulaski's hosted one. Decatur has. That's the closest ones to us. I know last year was Princeton. Is that what it was? Okay. But I know that they make sure, kind of like similar, like you book a concert and you don't put two within an hour because they would kind of compete with each other, and so we would be the one, you know, within a several hour radius and stuff like that. So that way that we're not competing with some other local community and that kind of thing for that year.
Thank you.
Ron?
Thank you again. So just for clarity, it is a go.
It is a go.
So it's official. It's happening. Now,
Yes.
all you need is the people to sign up, and as well as some resources.
Yeah,
Community.
and group work camps, they're national, so their job is to get the kids and the youth leaders to come. And so, that's their big part of that. And they provide staffing. I should say that, to explain this correctly, if it would be awesome to do this if we just had a whole bunch of volunteers. And I know that like the Together for Lincoln project you might have been familiar with a few years ago, on a smaller scale, attempted that kind of thing. But really, for volunteers and all the materials and everything, stuff like that, I probably wouldn't take on that ambitious of a thing. That's a monster. But this is working with a group mission trips organization that's done this for 30 years, and really they come in and they run the work camp and stuff. I mean, they bring in, I wore my red shirt, but the red shirts are the staff of 30 people that they bring in from different parts of the country to play different roles, to run the cafeteria, to be the site coaches out there helping kids learn construction, different. So it's a seasoned organization that's kind of running the thing. We're just kind of providing all the support and the volunteers to kind of and be great hosts for these teenagers and youth workers coming to the town to make the impact.
Tracy.
Well, I just want to say thank you for bringing this forward. The mayor sent me an email last week or the week before from Brianne Titus, and in reading that email and just trying to gather from that email what I could and then doing a little research, it kind of became a no-brainer that we needed to get you guys up here and at least get this in front of the council. It is a go, it sounds like, and we got a lot of people that have already made contributions. I think, Lincoln, you guys are invested in putting your best foot forward and helping the community look presentable and helping people out and giving these children an opportunity. I think the council needs to step up too. So I would be in favor of a sponsorship of this program.
Any other comments on that?
So do we want to talk about sponsoring it now, or do we want to push it to another cow?
Resist.
Mr. Conzo, Ron?
I was going to say, we're going to be working on the budget here real soon, so that would be a good time to address it.
Okay, perfect.
That's what I was going to say.
Jeff?
I would just say again, thank you for coming forward and doing this, but I think, we'll probably at least start with a resolution of support, show our support of it, and go on from there, so.
We can make 2 votes, one to support it and then follow up with the
financial
funding vote
at a later time, after a budget.
So put a resolution on the next.
Yeah, I would think so.
Next agenda.
Sure.
And then we'll talk more on budgets.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Todd.
Thank you.
And thank you guys from Capsule for bringing this forward. Appreciate it.
All right, then we have the Lincoln Park District's request for the city to deed its 4 parks, which is Allison Park, Melrose Park, Postville Park, and Ray White Park. Anybody like to comment? Tracy?
Sure, I'll comment. I will admit that I've had some reservations about this particular topic. There are individuals that I've read online are in support of it because they'd like to see these parks developed. And I don't disagree that it'd be wonderful to have the parks developed. But I think up to this point, we've seen nothing that says they will be developed, just that they would like to as well. And the only phone calls and emails that I've personally received have not been in favor of this. I just think that there's more conversations that need to take place. I personally have more questions, so while I'm in favor of developing our parks and making our community better, I'm not ready at this time to personally vote on it.
Keller?
Was there a particular time frame that they needed to know something for grant writing purposes? Do you recall? Is there anybody here from the Park District?
Yes. Friday is what he said.
Okay.
Friday was the deadline he gave us.
So what that means then is if we do not move on this, that they will lose that opportunity. And I'm not voicing in favor. I'm just trying to figure out what they need from us if they're going to have this possibility of of doing these grants?
Sounds like they just won't be able to apply for the grants. There's no guarantee they'll receive them.
Yeah. Well, true.
Yeah.
Mr. Howlett.
I'm still conducting legal research in association with this matter. It's not complete at this juncture, but I also, is it this Friday? Is that what he meant?
I believe
because
so.
if the
By the end of the month.
If the voting is Monday, then it's realistically, even if you were to vote for it, the deadline would have passed.
Steve?
I don't think it was a hard deadline. I think it was that he needed to know that the council was in support of having this transition, the parks over. That way they could get in touch, that he could get in touch with the grant writer to submit the grants. And I believe Mr. Andrews was pretty confident, although you can never be confident in grant writing or whatever in any particular year, that they submit for a grant. However, there is zero possibility of the grant if they don't have ownership of the parks. And I've been on this council for a few years, and Jeff, you've been up here for more than that, and Kathy as well. And I'm not for sure how often that the council has talked about any upgrades other than the gentleman that came forward regarding a wheelchair swing, or a couple of them, which I know Sam has been working on trying to raise some money, and it's been a little bit of a go trying to raise the money for that as well. I don't really see any drawbacks, and no one has contacted me in regards to well, I had one individual contact me prior to the request because they thought that the city owns the parks and the city should be the ones that have the say on the parks. But other than that, I've not had anybody contact me that has not been in favor of this. And I don't know that we would even address the parks had this not even come up other than the disability wheelchair. And so with budgets being what they are, and now it looks like we'll probably be supporting this work group, you know, we're not putting any funds towards the park of the cities. You raised money, or you helped to raise money. And so I don't see the drawback necessarily. I know that, Tracy, you're concerned about potentially of raising taxes, perhaps. They can do it without having the parks if they really wanted to. They have a plan to move forward with it. I don't understand. I don't understand why we wouldn't seriously consider this, especially with the time constraints that they would have on the grant writing.
Sam and Ron.
Well, Steve kind of just said part of what I was going to say with the soft deadline. I thought that they could apply for the grant anytime through February, but the sooner that they got their application in, the better. So I do think it was a soft deadline. I have had a couple meetings with Abby O'Brien regarding this donation of the parks and the building of an ADA accessible park at Postville Park, and she's really in favor of it. She thinks that she's really. I know she couldn't make any promises, but she was very optimistic, and she really wants to see that done. As Steve mentioned, I had been kind of trying to raise some money and develop a plan for a wheelchair swing at Postville Park. A couple things on that. I did raise some money, but it's not anywhere near enough. So if the city wanted that, they may have to pay some of their own money for this. While meeting with Abby, she did bring some designs forward that I didn't even look at because it was way out of our price range. Like really expensive stuff, really nice expensive equipment that she was looking to put in with this grant money. It was a lot bigger than what I envisioned, and it was really nice. And as Steve mentioned, we're not really doing anything with our park, so if it helps them and we're not doing anything with it, I don't see a whole lot of downside. So I just wanted to say
Kevin and Jeff.
Well, I was just going to tag on what Alderman Parrott said. I had also received nothing but positive comments. So I guess I would just like to hear, Alderman Wells, what are some of the comments from the public that you had heard of some of the criticisms or possible arguments against it?
Number one, the thing that I brought up about taxes, giving away city property to another taxing body who could then raise taxes. One of the other feedbacks I got was you want to give property of the city to a taxing body who traditionally taxes people in the city of Lincoln and then charges the people in the city of Lincoln to use the facilities. Another thing that was brought to my attention was somebody who lives in the city of Lincoln will pay more to use the facilities than the people that live outside of the community for the facilities already out there. You do your research on let's just say a gym membership out there. Let's say that I pay, I don't know, what is it, a couple $100 probably?
I paid $170.
So, but you also get taxed, right? So by the time you do the comparison, people outside the community are paying less by the time you take the fees that we pay plus being taxed on it. That's just one example. So that's why I said there's some concerns and questions that I have about this particular move. And we also, this council has made decisions in the past that were done in haste, and were done simply because somebody put a deadline before us that was quick, instead of probably slowing down and doing our due diligence on that particular topic. That's the feedback I've received. Again, I'm in favor of developing our parks, the ADA swing. Instead of you going out and raising money for the ADA swing, you are a sitting alderman. You can make a proposal for us to improve our parks using taxpayer dollars. I would support that. That's a fair request. I think some of the things that we can do to improve them, we aren't doing them because we haven't made the parks a priority, and maybe we should.
Kevin and Jeff.
I've been contacted by a handful of people for the same reasons Mr. Welch is giving. And a couple of them just point blank say, I can't imagine living in a city that doesn't have a city park, which we'd be giving away all our parks. So for those of you who are in favor of it, why do we have to give them all our parks? There's 4 listed. I'm not in favor and would not vote in favor of giving away all our parks. But if we're, in what Steve said, if we're not going to develop any of them, why don't we split the difference and see if they do develop a couple parks or one big park that we give them and still retain some of our own. But the biggest one that came to me was just what Mr. Welch said. The city giving away city property to a taxing body that then turns around and charges us to use their facilities. I said it before, I didn't feel comfortable with giving up all the parks because then we have zero say on what events go in that. And if you read the document that Mr. Andrews brought forward last week, it said any current events would stay the same, but any new events would have to be approved by the park board. So the city would then have no say-so of any events that would go on in any of the parks because we would not own them. So that's my reservations there is, you know, that the city not even having a park to call their own.
Jeff and then Tracy.
I was just going to say, in light of Mr. Hoblett's comments, that there's still some legal sides of this that haven't been, he's still working on, I mean, so that.
And there might be other options as well, as opposed to just a sale or a gift or whatnot. It could be that a lease could also suffice as well, but I'm still looking into that.
Yeah. So in light of that, I think we just keep this on the burner until we get some more information from our attorney.
I hope to have it done within the week's end.
Tracy.
So just to follow up, I'm not against doing this. But, and I believe I brought this up when Mr. Andrews was here last week. Why can't we do something like put some stipulations around this that says if you don't develop it within so many years, it reverts back to the ownership of the city, and give them a deadline for doing this? And I'd also like to see them commit in writing that they will not raise taxes for anything associated with those parks. Other than that, I'm fine with it. That actually makes them a little bit more serious about it. They get the land that they want to get the grants, and then it's a partnership with the city.
Any other comments at this time? Okay, so John, you'll reach out when you have that. Okay. We have an item that's not on the agenda that we're going to add, and since they're here and we don't want to make them wait the whole time, we're going to bring up insurance. Ron, do you want to start that?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So we had met some representatives of the city with the police union about the insurance and the insurance renewal. And at that last meeting this week, some options were, we gave Roger Garrett Agency some time to look at some further options so that we could go back to the city employees with this particular proposal. So with that, if you want to come forward, Josh, and talk about some of that, we'd appreciate it.
Do they have copies of it?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so I think you guys have a couple copies of, hopefully in front of you, a couple different options here. And we want to just jump right into those. What we did is we had three different options available to the group that you guys were offering during the 2019 period. And so those three options were a $0 deductible HMO, a $1,500 deductible qualified high deductible plan or HSA plan, and a $500 PPO plan. Okay, and each one of those sheets that you guys have in front of you coordinate each one of those plans. The city voted to change the $0 deductible HMO January 1 to a $500 deductible HMO, and then a $1,500 HSA to a $2,800 HSA, and then a PPO $500 deductible to a $2,500 deductible later at a later meeting. And we added a fourth plan, which was $5,000 deductible. The initial renewal the Health Alliance came out with was approximately 30%, and we met with, I believe, city and union officials and or representation, and had a discussion about what to do with that renewal. The decision made in those meetings were that we would take the group out to bid and look at other options, and so that's what we did. We took it out to about 6 different companies, and it was determined that at that point in time, we came back with those proposals, and Health Alliance was the best option to do that. So after going through those different options, it was determined that Health Alliance was the decision to move, or that was the plan that they were going to move forward with. So we took and negotiated that rate from a 30% renewal down to a 19% renewal. The options that you have here are, so the current plan is on a PPO plan. So the first page you have there is a $500 deductible. That was moved on January 1, and I believe this was maybe delayed until March 1st. March 1st. Okay. So March 1st, that was delayed, moving to a $2,500 deductible option. And then the two options on the right there, we were asked to provide some additional options. And so there's a $1,000 deductible from Health Alliance, as well as a $1,500 deductible PPO. So if any changes want to be made for a 3/1 effective date, you could make changes to a 3/1 effective date still. On the second plan, on the second page is the HMO from Health Alliance. It's a $0 deductible, which was offered in 2019. Had a $1,500 out-of-network or individual out-of-pocket, and then had the recommended plan, or the plan that the city ended up going with, was a $500 deductible HMO with a $1,000 $1,000 individual out-of-pocket maximum. And then the two options to the right of those pages are another $0 deductible with an 80% co-insurance, and then a 90% co-insurance with a $0 deductible as well. The third plan, so if you look at the landscape version here, is the HSA plan. And the HSA plan in 2019 was a $1,500 deductible. It was determined that that would be changed to a $2,800 deductible starting 3/1. And so that second plan there on that sheet is that $2,800 deductible. Additionally, there's a $1,500 HSA plan with a $3,000 out-of-pocket that the city could also make a decision to change to 3/1 as well as another $1,500 deductible. There's a couple of variations of network on these plans, and the majority of the population is actually on the HSA plan today. The couple variations are there's three main networks that Health Alliance has. So you have a PPO, which is a participating provider option. You have a HMO, which is a health maintenance option, and then you have a POS, which is a point of service. PPO is you kind of decide and pick what doctor you go to as many doctors as you want. An HMO is you have a primary care physician that determines all the care, and then a POS is a alternate version of that kind of combines an HMO and a PPO together, but you have to have a referral. So you pick a primary care physician, and that primary care physician gives you a referral. So, is there any questions on the plan designs? Has everybody had time to look at this?
I have one question on the HSA one. The current that they are on right now, that as of January. So that one and the POS alternate 2 at the 1,500. So are the coverages all the same on those two, other than the POS is on the one?
Yeah. So the difference would be you had the POS network, which is changing the network, and slightly the out-of-pocket, just slightly. So, but essentially, pretty much the same plan design for the most part.
So on the alternate, the POS alternate 2, once you hit your deductible, they pay at 100%?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Mr. Keller?
Well, again, I think one of the sticking points was for the HMO originally was that there was that the Springfield Clinic wasn't in the network. Am I correct? Yep. So this is okay. Just to be sure. Thank you. Beth?
I just want to say thank you for all your effort. You've gone back to the drawing board numerous times to try to help us find something, so I hope we find something soon. Thank you.
And the percentages you have at the very bottom of each sheet, those are based on from...
It increased from your 2019 rates. So
Questions for them? Okay. I guess that's it.
We'll be in touch, I guess.
Thank you very much.
We appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
he's out of here.
So how do we want to pursue this at this point? Thank you, Sarah.
Well, didn't we need to present these to all of the parties involved? Am I correct? And so before we pursue anything, that needs to go through them to be sure that yeah, okay.
But as the council, you have, it's up to, I mean, is the council willing to let them choose a different plan, or that's?
I think so.
That's the point, okay.
Yeah. Say that again?
That's what they're wanting. Go ahead.
So ultimately, the big sticking point for the unions is such a change in the deductible amounts. I mean, for the PPO, you're going from 500 to 2,500. From the HMO is not that bad, 0 to 500. But everybody, most of the departments, all have the HSA. So you're taking it from a $1,500 to a $2,800 deductible. So that's a huge jump in the deductible. Now, most understand, just talking to some of the members, et cetera, that we understand that trying to keep the premiums low is important for everybody, because there's no reason for everybody to be paying a higher premium if we're not necessarily even using our insurance. But there are people that do use the insurance and must use the insurance due to health issues that they do have. But so they're willing to compromise, from what I understand. It's just, is the council willing to compromise a little bit to help with that higher deductible? So that's where it kind of lands right now, is on you guys' shoulders. If you want to be open, if there's if any of these other plans are more palatable for you rather than what we're currently being stuck with on March 1st. So,
Kevin.
I'm kind of torn whether to get into this argument or not, but because I abstain from it. But we came forward with our plan, and they're the ones throwing their arms in the air that for some reason we owe them Cadillac insurance. And in talking with people in the Springfield area that I deal with daily, they can't believe that we're allowing 3 unions to dictate what the taxpayers have to give them for insurance. So my suggestion is, if this is going to be a negotiation, we've already made our offer. It's not up to this council to find out what's more palatable to the union. I think we should give the 3 unions a deadline to tell us what's more palatable to them. We said one number, they've come back and filed a grievance and said, no, we want what we had. So, in my opinion, the ball's in their court to tell us, are they willing to move at all or not? That's the way I look at it.
Mr. Howlett.
Right. I wasn't involved in union negotiations or decided the union contract, but as I understand it, this needs to be, if it has not already, circulated out to the advisory committee. Not yet.
We just got this. We got this late this afternoon, and
but after tonight, it's going to be dispersed, and that's kind of what I meant.
Right.
So this needs to be dispersed to them, and then they are well within their right, I suppose, to give what they would advise that they would want for their respective area, be it fire, police, or streets. But then it's incumbent upon the council at that point as to whether or not you want to act upon it. And now, as to whether or not there's other issues in play and other grievances that could arise from that, quite possibly. But that's an area I believe to be subject to interpretation, depending on how you interpret the contract. But like I said, it's incumbent upon the council. There's no, not really forcing you at this juncture. It's essentially the ball's in your court after they make their indication to you.
Fire Chief.
The fire union didn't file a grievance against this. They brought up an article in the contract that was signed back during negotiations time, And that article states that they would be given options with $1,500 deductibles max. That's what it says in there. So when they brought that to your attention at the meeting that we had a week or so ago, they don't have to file a grievance on that. They brought it to your attention. You have 30 days to act on it, or they can go to an arbitrator and have him make a decision on what has to be done or what the outcome is. That's what their contract says that you guys signed just a few months ago.
Beth.
Yes, thank you. I think in the essence of time that we're involved with here, and as well as there's different issues involved with the unions. We've been sitting on these negotiation meetings, and I don't know if we're going anywhere with any of it. I would say, as far as the Insurance Employee Management Advisory Insurance Committee, that we, not all of those are who the union, I guess, wanted on the committee. So I would recommend having an open meeting up here and having just the employees come forward for an informational meeting. And it would be, they have to fill out a form if they want to speak, and we keep it very, very civil. And explain what we've got here.
Someone else have any input? Steve?
Just a question on that. I like the idea, but what about the individuals, the employees that are working during that time? Are they able to provide comment through a letter of support or whatever, just so that they have a voice in it as well, if that were to happen?
Yes, I would say under these circumstances, but yes, we would welcome anyone to give any kind of input. But I don't know about the time. We'd have to, the aldermen have to decide that. If you give them 30 minutes or 15 minutes to come up here and be told, like we were just explained.
Tracy.
So I want to go back to the statement that you made a few minutes ago, Beth. Did you say that the people that sat on the advisory committee were not who the unions wanted on there?
We've heard that after the fact. We didn't know that.
These unions didn't know the people that were going to sit on a committee and represent
them? No,
them?
we asked the department heads to ask who they'd like to have, or ask for volunteers. So they went back and asked for volunteers, and that's what we came up with, was 2 from each of the unions.
Yeah,
and so now they're saying that they weren't, and you know, just it was a mistake on our part that we didn't say that, I guess. You know, we didn't go by the union, but I just think at this point there's all kinds of finger pointing on everything going on, and I think we just need to all be on the same page in the same room and explain this again. Maybe we could have R.W. Garrett agency come back again.
I agree. I just think we need to keep it in the back of our mind until next year, but later this year, that when we form this committee, we keep this in mind when we pull those people in, so we use a method to get the correct people there so that they have adequate representation from their side. So if you want to hold a special meeting and have this be the topic of discussion, it's up to the rest of the council. I have no objections.
Excuse me, can I say one more thing? The representatives that we had on the Insurance Advisory Committee all were union members, but they were not union officers, and I think that's where the issue lies.
Jeff?
I'll just speak on behalf. I was on with the fire. It seemed that the union, the fire union leadership was not made aware of. Well, they were made aware of the committee, but they weren't part of the selection process of who could be on that committee. And I think that's where the breakdown might have been, at least from the fire. That's what I got out of it.
The day that the meeting was happening, I was asked to see if one of the firemen wanted to sit in on the meeting. So I came up here to the guys that were on shift, and it was kind of who's available and who wants to go, and one guy said, yeah, I'll go down there and sit in, and then the next time the meeting came about, same thing, and it was a different shift, so another firefighter went down there, and the union president, during our discussion, was upset that he wasn't apprised of the meetings and his committee to select who they wanted to go to the meetings. That it was just kind of a, I'll go because I'm here today type of thing, instead of them selecting who got to go. So,
Beth.
I did want to say, and I didn't know that until we met with the FOP, not the FOP, the IAFF, number 3092, that they wanted to have the decision to select that, and so we know that going into this next year, if we do this next year.
So are you wanting to hold a special? And if so, when?
What kind of deadlines are we up against to make
Very
a
quick.
decision on this?
Beth, I don't recall the date of the meeting that we had with the union. I think it was 2 weeks ago, but I somehow remember February 14th is the 30-day date where they can turn and file for arbitration.
Peggy, did you have any?
Well, we have 2 voting sessions in February, so it's got to hit at least one of those. Because this would be effective March 1st.
I believe the FOP has a meeting scheduled for next week. I think they need to see this first, and then hopefully they can have some comment back on that meeting that will help suffice that we can move forward, hopefully, on. I don't think there was an issue on the police department side in regards to who was on it. No.
Excuse me, I think it was just the fire department.
Okay, so as far as I know, they just want to see this, what the alternate plans were, and see if it's something like Mr. Bateman said, more palatable for them. The only thing is we have the deadline of March 1st, so.
48 hours to notify for a meeting.
If you're looking for a 48-hour notice, then the presumption is that you're going to have a meeting that would require the taking of minutes and would have essentially, that would also be projected out to the public, and therefore any number of council members can show up too, because it'd be a public meeting at that juncture with minutes being taken.
Kevin.
What about 6 o'clock next Monday, an hour before our regular city council meeting? Surely we can hash this out in an hour.
Make it 5.
Well, quite honestly, what I've heard of going on with this insurance thing, I would say well over 3/4 of the employees didn't get to see any of the information that their supposed members at the meeting even saw. Why can't we get this into everybody's hands? Surely we can touch every employee's hands in 48 hours with this information and not rely on their representative telling them sometime next week or something. If insurance is that important to them, wouldn't you think they'd want the information so they can read it?
Peggy.
It's up to the department heads. I can email you these sheets, and you can email it to everybody in your department. I can print them all off, and I can hand them to them personally, whatever you want me to do. But when I hand it to them, they will sign a piece of paper that they got it. So it's up to you what you guys want to do. Just let me know. I can be up at 2 and 3 in the morning and deliver. I don't sleep, so that's okay. Whatever you want.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking of the city clerk and how she's going to be inundated with people asking, calling questions and all this if we don't all show all of them, whoever is interested, to come to a meeting, and we hand them all out. Well, we give them to them ahead of time, but answer the questions all at once rather than having all these different scenarios is what's been some of the problem.
As long as they show up. If you have a public meeting, what are you going to do when nobody shows up?
Then that's on them.
So are you wanting to have it before next week's meeting?
That was just my suggestion.
Right.
Of course, that was my brain thinking of a per diem. We don't get paid by per diems, but I'll forego my pay.
We're here anyway. We're good. I mean, your evening's taken already, so you might as well just make it a.
Steve?
Well, it
used to be.
used to be that.
extra meetings were always ahead of time and it's just part of your regular pay. So I'm fine with
That's
that.
right. Steve, did you have a comment?
So whatever is done can be recorded and then also placed on the city website for viewing or recorded and
Just like a regular.
Just like a regular meeting?
Right.
What time did you decide?
6.
Thank you, Mayor. I was going to recommend this. You're not going to get this done in an hour, realistically, in view of the fact that we're probably going to spend an hour on it tonight if we haven't already. But you may want to either schedule it at 5, or if that's not workable for everybody, schedule it at 6 and schedule the regular council meeting at 8 o'clock. It's a voting meeting, and generally those don't take as long as committee of the whole meeting. So I shouldn't even say that. But just jinxed it. But just realistically, you're not going to get through this. If you have any number of people show up at all, you're not going to get through this in an hour.
So then we want to start at 5:30. You want to
Split the difference 5:30.
Steve, could you be back? So 5:30 next Monday.
You want the regular council meeting
At 7. Yeah, so 5:30 and then the regular meeting at 7. I mean, Peggy, it's up to you obviously, but I think it'd be easiest if you send it to the department heads. Are you guys okay with making sure all of your people have the document?
And be aware of the meeting?
Sure. Okay.
You give them a form to have them sign? Hand out as
Yeah,
well?
they'll be sending it. I'm sorry, Jeff.
Well, just real quick, with any, and John can back me up on this, with any posted meeting of any type, you can always start the meeting later, you just can't start the meeting earlier.
Right.
So if this goes till 7:30 for some reason, that the council meeting will start at 7:30, but, so you can always start later.
Okay, so department heads will disperse the new documentation, then we will have the meeting next Monday at 5:30. Any other discussion? Okay. Moving down, we have the ordinance amending the section of city's health and sanitation codes for residential users on wells. Tracy, is that?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So the ordinance that was proposed, the changes were the result of discussions that we've had on this particular topic. These again are those individuals that have wells on their property, therefore they cannot get a water reading, and therefore they'll never get a pocket reading based on our ordinances we've had to change for the sewer upgrade. So this is one of those issues that it was a gap that we didn't close when we were going through the process thinking about how we were going to craft our ordinances as a result of the upgrade. And this is an attempt to correct that and make this reasonable for those few individuals that are impacted. Again, going back in the previous discussions, I think we're only talking a dozen or less individuals anyways. I don't even think it's that many. There is also language that in that language they would fall into the lowest tier. So it just went up again. I think it's now $30. They'd fall into that tier. And then there's language that for new construction, when new homes are built, if feasible, they'll have to tie into city line and add a meter at their cost. Adding the meter at their cost is consistent with what we do with commercial as well. So if there's no objections, I'd like to see that placed on the agenda, the regular agenda.
Okay with placing that on the regular agenda?
Yes.
Mr. Atwood?
Yes, there's just one section that needs to be added thus far. I have the only area I have not implemented yet is the new construction aspect. That if there is new construction, a meter needs to be added at their cost. I've still been debating as to where to insert it, but I also wanted the council wanted to also, I don't know if this is feasible either, future-proofing it a bit. I think in my email I sent that potentially maybe a sale would also be considered, not necessarily new construction, but we could make it a term of the sale for a property that is existing on a metered system. I'm sorry, on a well system, that a meter would have to be added post-sale. So the new homeowner coming in would have to install a meter, and so therefore they don't have that expectation of being grandfathered in at that point. So it's just, I didn't know if the council wanted to consider that and future-proof a little bit, because it could change the language I'd be using, but it's up to your prerogative.
I totally agree with that.
In favor of that.
Everyone okay with that?
Yep.
So we'll place this on the regular agenda. Okay.
And the one.
What's on there to reflect it.
All right, moving down to Stall Hut Drive dedication, Mr. Outlet.
I received in the mail today the dedication and the easement in regards to the Stall Hut Drive. I know that there has been some push in regards to get this street opened, and it is essentially complete at this juncture. So therefore, I would be essentially creating an ordinance that would essentially incorporate and accept the dedication of said Stall Hut Drive, and also an ordinance amending, let's see here. I don't have it made up yet, but it would be for the next voting. An ordinance amending essentially 9-5-15 of the Lincoln City Code, because they're also, I believe, they're desiring there not to be any parking on that street. So therefore, they would have to be added to the voluminous list of streets that do not allow parking. So,
Kevin.
This is a question for Walt. Is it complete? It's got street lights.
They're installing the electricity for the street lights right now, but other than that, the project is done. Signage is up, the road striped. It's ready to go.
What kind of is it? Just a stop sign where it intersects
It's a
with
three-way
Taylor?
stop where Castle Manor connects with Taylor Court. So Taylor Court's a stop going north and south, and Castle Manor's a stop coming from the west.
And what about from Stall Hut onto the cul-de-sac? That's a stop?
No, that's just a continuous street through there.
Place on the agenda, regular. Okay. Moving down then, the discussion on the wastewater treatment plant solar RFP bids. Andrew?
All right, so you guys have received both the bids we received back based off the RFP. You got two companies that submitted 3 bids, one from one and 2 from the other. I know most of you have not had a lot of time to go through this. I don't know, I believe you received my memo, but this is something that I think the council seriously needs to consider moving forward with one of them. Does anyone have any questions, initial questions, or?
Say, do you have any insight on them, what your thoughts are? Or?
Based on the bids that we got back, that I would recommend moving forward with the 25-year PPA from Keystone. It's going to lock in our electricity rate at 4 cents a kilowatt hour for the next 25 years with no escalator. That's a guaranteed rate for the next 25 years. I don't know how we're not going to beat that.
Kevin?
So, since I initiated this conversation long before Andrew got here, and long before the guy before that, and then going back to that original guy, I suggested when I met with Sean and Norm back then that, which was actually Anthony's very first day, that they make the recommendation because they have a vast knowledge and have other sewer treatment plants that run the plant off solar. The sewer treatment plant is by far the largest user of electricity the city of Lincoln has. So it was just one of those things that the city administrator and the mayor asked me to look into and bring forward, and working with the sewer people, that is what's come forward, and I trust their judgment in who they think we should go with. Again, because they have several plants already that have done this, and I would be voting in favor of it because it is an increased savings to the city of Lincoln, and anytime we can save money, especially on electric rates, which we have for the citizens with aggregation, that's where I feel we should do it.
If the council would like some numbers on projected savings, what we've calculated based off the bids received, the Dyna 20-year PPA over a 20-year period, and this is based on quite a few assumptions that are built into the bid, could save us just north of $1 million a year, $1,003,591 a year. Or not a year, but over the 20-year period. It'd be real nice if it was over a year. Yes. The Keystone 20-year PPA can save us a little bit more than that on their projected savings. Their 20-year period would look at $1,017,228, but Keystone's 25-year PPA projects to save us $1,880,602.
Does anyone have any comments or questions? Tracy?
So at the end of the 25 years, then in the contract, they will remove the panels or upgrade them if we renew?
Upgrade would be what I think they would do, but that is not specifically spelled out in Keystone's. Dyna spells it out as we can purchase them at fair market value at the end of the term.
Steve?
Sam and I are doing some quick math over here. I think Kevin's math maybe, so you have to double check it, but about $72,000 a year then in savings.
I do not believe I broke it down in a year because it's going to operate on an escalating scenario. So basically, however high the escalator works for our normal DC3 rate that the sewer plant receives now, Dyna based it on a 3% annual increase in electric rates, and Keystone based it on a 3.4% increase. So there's going to be a little difference there.
We did provide both bidders with the usage that they have now, so it was their best guess on the increase based on fair market value for this area. But both bidders, or all bidders that applied, had our current and past Ameren bills from the clerk's office to do those figures off of. And I think it's the previous discussion is the second part of this is I think we have to dedicate 5 acres, but it's not a total of 5 acres. We could dedicate 5 acres, but then turn around and release, once the solar plant is built, the unused portion back to the farmer that or whoever we bid the farmland out to.
Steve?
Just real quick then, Andrew. Then, if approved, a start date for construction and then a completion date for construction, did they say how long? I didn't get a chance to.
No, this would have to go through a design build phase for either bidder at that point. And to clarify a point that Kevin just brought up, we're not talking about 5 acres. The northern limit out of all 3 bids is 14 acres. The site that's been proposed is a 40-acre plot that we're currently, I believe, cash renting. That's very close to the sewer plant. There is an access issue that may be brought up on whether or not we have direct access to those 40 acres, but that can be addressed during the design build phase.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to ask you, how many acres did you say we were probably going to utilize?
On the upper end, 14.
14.
Yeah.
But I think during the discussion earlier, that I had with one of the bidders at the very beginning, the Keystone that came here and made the presentation. I was told, and I don't think that has changed, that yes, it may be north of 14 acres, but the actual site would be less than 5 acres.
That could be. I did not see that spelled out, how much the actual footprint of the solar array would take up. I can tell you that Keystone's bid actually went by the RFP. They say they're going to generate right about 90.4% of our power usage, not our demand. And Dyna looks to be generating right at 83 1/3% of our usage. In the RFP, we requested 90% of our usage be covered by the solar array.
Steve, I can't recall. What do we normally get in the cash rent for the field, for the property?
There's been a range on it. It's been 5 to 9,000, 5 to 8,000, but that's for the entire thing. Though.
That's for the entire. But we were generous with that.
We were way low.
We'll have to address that later.
It's been higher at times too. It depends on various circumstances that can affect crop production.
Yeah, probably just need to go out for bid on that.
As long as I can remember, I've never heard the city go out for bid for the farmland, where the county, on the other hand, the land out by the airport, if any of you drove by the airport, those crops are owned by the county, and we go out for bid. I want to say it's 3 years, maybe 5 years, that each year it goes out for bid for cash rent, and it's much, much higher than what the city's renting this farmland.
How much land is it?
It's a 40-acre plot.
No, I'm out at the airport.
I'm sorry.
I don't remember. And there's stipulations on it where, obviously, the FAA, it's regulated on what crops can be grown. Where this is just cash rent, and this guy can grow whatever he wants, and we're way undervalued on what farmland actually is.
Jeff?
I think one of the issues, though, was the access to that area. That's right. We have to go across. Whoever we bid it to has to go across another individual's land to get to it, and that was the issue, that we're sort of tied by just what's around us in order for that to be able to utilize.
Yeah.
I just want to also say it was also in a floodplain. That might be a little bit why it was low.
Trace.
So then, do we want to put this on the agenda to accept the Keystone RFP?
Okay, so we will place the Keystone bid on the agenda, regular agenda.
Yep.
Okay, area disposal proposed contract amendments. Tracy, Kevin.
Let Kevin talk about it.
Kevin, you're up.
Did you feel me push you? No.
Basically, in meeting, Tracy and I meet, and the administrator and the clerk and Wes with area disposal on a frequent basis, working on issues with the trash mandate. One of the things that they would like to change is due to restraint hours of dumping and stuff. In our contract, I said that they cannot pick up trash any earlier than 6 a.m. They would like to amend that to 5 a.m. It's normal practice in other communities, because by the time they drive the trucks around and get them filled and then try to get it over to the facility where they have to empty the trucks, they're under time constraint, plus picking up large areas of the city. That was the only amendment, wasn't it?
No, there's 3.1.
Oh, in the agreement, it says that the residential trash, and then it says, but the responsibility falls on the homeowner, which is what we said in the mandate. But the problem is we're having trouble collecting money or enforcing the issue because of the turnover in the large number of rented properties in this town. So they'd like to amend it to where they have the right to go after the homeowner for that amount, because it always ends up, and we're constantly chasing our tail, that the people that don't pay the bill move out and someone else moves in, and there's no recourse to go after the debt. And it's very embarrassing to say, but Lincoln, Illinois is the largest debtor to area disposal for delinquent accounts. And I've worked with Wes a lot, and we get a hold list every single day, and that number, I don't know how many times we've looked at the same property and it's a different person, because they move in, they move out, they move in, they move out, and they have no way of collecting this money. So that's one of the things that area would like, is that they have the basically right, because our ordinance says so, that they can, the final responsibility for that bill falls on the owner of the property.
Steve?
This might be a question for city attorney. Is it possible to put an ordinance in that owners of rented property must have in their lease agreement trash included in their lease? To take care of that situation, that way that they're charging. That's way they're charging the tenant at the front end, and then the owner of the property, or just they're the ones that are going to be paying the bill.
That's up to the property owner if they want to protect their interests and incorporate that into a lease. But having said that, I believe there is a set standard amount, for trash, so that it'd be easy to project as to what that additional cost would be. Now, for utilities and whatnot, let's say for sewage and for sewer and whatnot, the property owner is ultimately responsible for like say uncollected debts. Okay, so it's not the renter, it's the property owner. Okay, when we file ordinance violation cases in this city, we are always going after we always file them against the property owner, not the whoever's renting there at that juncture. Just for some clarification, for purposes of direction, if you will.
Ron and Kevin.
I'll let you, if you're going to follow up with that, I'll let you go ahead and first.
So in that discussion with area, I would like to see, and it seemed like that was the consensus at that table with the administrator and Mr. Welch and the clerk, and in many conversations with Mr. Woodhull over this situation, is I would like to see the ordinance amended to where the trash is the sole responsibility of the homeowner. And the suggestion was, since we would have to determine all these different properties that are owned by different individuals, that we would put a date out there as in July, as of July 1st. From that date on, the homeowner is responsible for the trash. They cannot tell the tenant that the tenant has to get trash in their name, that the homeowner is responsible. That gives them plenty of time and plenty of days to add that amount to the rent if they so do so. Mr. Woodhull and I have contacted several homeowners trying to convince them to do that, because we constantly have tenant problems, and it's just what I suggested. It's overturning tenants all the time, and they always say, well, that person moved out, now this person's moved in. Well, then the debt followed that person, and you're constantly chasing it. Where at the sewer department, the debt is responsible of the homeowner. I know I'm going to get a lot of feedback from that. I am a property owner myself. I cover the trash for my property. Just simply add it into the rent. So you can't do that overnight. It's going to be a labor-intensive process to figure out the owners of these properties, which area was going to help us out, and we were just going to start researching. But I'd like to see the amendment to that, to where the property owner is the sole responsibility for that service. We just had one last week where caught somebody fly dumping, a citizen that pays their trash, caught someone who is a renter, and that property owner told the renter he had to get trash, and he didn't want to pay for trash, so then he was carrying his trash up and down the alley, putting it in any empty can he could find. Not very proficient at it when you leave your name on the pizza box that's in the trash, but those are the issues we're dealing with in trying to find, compliance with this ordinance.
Mr. Keller.
Thank you, Mayor. Switching gears a little bit, maybe you mentioned this, but I missed it. Section 219 is a new addition about the deposit. Was this a request from area disposal?
Yeah, so in our discussions with area, they were talking to us about totes, and believe it or not, when people move, whether they move across town or they move to Arkansas, they load up their totes and take them with them. Area, yeah, so in the last 3 months, area has incurred, I believe they told us, was in a $10,000 loss in toters. And so they're required to provide the toters to the individuals. So if that toter is gone, they will still get their first one for free, and they will still get recycling for free if they choose to do so. But if they need a replacement, it'll be $50. And I think that's reasonable.
So are the totes coded by address? Right, and so they'll continue to do that, of course. Then.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was basically said that if Mr. Keller moves out of his property, he leaves his toter there. If you decide to load your toter up and leave, there has to be some kind of way that area can recoup some of this loss. We were shocked at the number of residents in Lincoln where the toters have been. I think they found one with a swimming pool stuffed in it, as you would store it in the wintertime, and they had it in their garage. So they cost area $100 a piece, those toters. So that's another embarrassment. We were one of the highest places for that.
Steve?
No. Can't remember.
Are there other comments? Kevin?
So before someone makes a motion to put these things on the agenda, I just want to say Mr. Welch and I and the administrator and the clerk and Wes, we do meet with area frequently. We will take any concern that you have with their service or any other issue. And I want to say we don't just meet with people from area. We actually meet with the owners, as in the owner comes to the meeting, and we have a round table discussion. And we try to work through the issues that come up on both sides of this ordinance. I think we've made great progress in issues. I know Mr. Keller and I have a couple individuals in our ward, and I think we've got that resolved now through meetings with area and communication. So it is important. You can reach out to me or Mr. Welch or administrator or whoever, and or your alderman, stress your concerns, it gets forwarded on to us, and it'll be brought up at the next meeting.
Steve, do you remember?
No, but I have another issue before I forget. I had a resident call me in regards to the placement of the totes after they've been dumped already, and I'm thinking it was on maybe Pulaski Street or something, where the lady that was concerned with the placement of the totes, she would like them to be placed back on the property and not left in the by the curb necessarily, where people park and it's hard to see around and all that. I don't know what's typical. I don't have a curb on 11th Street, at least the part of 11th Street that I live on. So there's just pretty much just pulled back into to the grass for the most part. But I can see her point. But if that's where they're at when they are pulled out and picked up, I don't know to expect them to put it back, up out of the street.
We've had that discussion with them on multiple occasions. I believe the words that Alderman Bateman and I used were, if you're taking pride in your job, then you'll put it back where you would want it. So if you have an issue, we can help you resolve that and get that to them. I will tell you the number of complaints that we were dealing with 6 months ago were rather significant, and I believe when we met this time, maybe a couple, it was really low. I know there's people that believe that this contract is pretty much a done deal and they'll be in this contract forever. I can say in the last meeting, they specifically asked us if we were ready to talk about renewing the 1 and 2 year additional years on this contract, and Mr. Bateman politely told them no. We had another email here recently about other companies wanting to bid on this thing. So we're taking everything seriously. We're holding them to the fire and making them fulfill their end of the contract and treat the people appropriately and as they would like to be treated. So if you got problems, let us know. We'll fix them because they seem eager to help us fix them.
Mr. Landers.
As far as the placement of the toters after they dump them, it's as easy as saying place it back where the resident put it, and make sure that the lid is closed on it. Because actually, it says in the contract, I believe, that there's words in there that says that the lid should be closed. Because if you don't close the lid on those toters, it makes them a big sale, and they blow a lot easier if the lids are wide open. Mm-hmm. So basically, I mean, if Alderman Bateman and Welch just basically ask the drivers or tell them to place the toter back where they got it from.
Well, and to follow up on that, I agree with you. And the conversations, I know that even the city administrator knows this as well, is that some of the feedback we received initially was responses that people were getting when they would call area disposal. And then area was telling them to call the clerk's office and put the clerk's office in a bad spot because they didn't have the information to help them. And through the process of having conversations with them, they made some personnel adjustments in the office, in the main office here in Lincoln. That seems to have helped resolve the problem. And they made some adjustments to some of their management of that office location as well. We have actually been meeting with drivers, the heads of some of the driving crews in our discussions. So they're taking our feedback and taking it right back to their crews, because we basically made it clear to them that anything less than what they've agreed to is unacceptable. Plain and simple.
Mr. Keller.
Oh, Kevin, just it's getting late. Comment and a question. It's already kind of been said, but again, thank you for all this, because I think a lot of us have been receiving since this agreement began complaints about the service, and I know actually my own trash was missed 3 times in a period of 2 months, and that has not happened at all since then. So I have not received, other than what you were referring to earlier, any other complaints from my constituents. But as you said, if there is any complaints as a service, let them know. One follow-up question, I think it was spring cleanup was last year. Do we have a spring cleanup? Is that being considered again for 2020?
It's in the contract to have at least.
Is it? Okay, great.
Well, Kevin, Walt, did you guys both have your?
Yeah, I was going to make
whichever.
As far as the time thing, there was 6 a.m. to 5 a.m. They've been starting at 5 a.m. for the last 24 years. So. And the only time you'll really have an issue is if they decide to change how they run the route, where you're not expecting them to be there that early. So.
Those are the issues that are brought up, and our very first meeting with them, anybody that knows me and knows the way I conduct myself. Sometimes I'm not proud of it, but I was not in favor of meeting with drivers to then have the driver discuss it with his manager, who then have that person discuss it with the person here. So from the very first meeting, Royal Coulter comes to the meeting with his sons, and we have established a top-down discussion. So when I say, please give us your feedback, they take it very seriously. And we have discussions with the owner of the company. So they have made great strides in moving forward. They've invested, every truck has cameras now. They can take pictures of where the totes were, so we stopped this he said, she said stuff. iPads, the 5 a.m., I photographed that and brought that forward. Driving to work at 5 a.m., photographed them picking up trash at 5 a.m., and that was the first subject of the meeting, is when the contract says 6, why are we picking up trash at 5? So they take it seriously. So I just, not to beat this to death, but I just want the residents to know if they have any problems, contact your alderman, and we can get it taken care of.
Further discussion on this? Placing this on the agenda? Regular agenda, okay. We have the Crawford Murphy and Tilly invoice number 0207448 in the amount of $1,018.28. Have any questions? Place it on the regular agenda? Okay, regular agenda. Next is the Crawford Murphy and Tilly invoice number 0207681 in the amount of $2,752.34. Any questions? Regular agenda? Okay. Regular agenda. Next, the Lincoln, Illinois Balloons Over 66 committee, we met last week. It will be again the last full weekend in August, and the committee is requesting the use of the city's lot at 315 8th Street for Friday evening, Saturday morning, and Saturday evening launches, as well as the glow again will be Saturday evening. Kind of the same as last year.
Third Friday will be that day too.
Third Friday will be the same.
Third Friday will be the fourth Friday.
Okay, third Friday will be the fourth Friday in August. Got it. And kind of on that note, the launch sites are actually going to be limited down, so it's easier this year for people to see more at once. But more of that will be coming. But right now, we're just requesting the use of that again this year. Don't have any questions on that?
Consent agenda.
Consent agenda? Okay. Beth, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe we're going to table the discussion of the TIF Joint Review Board?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have any update on Fifth Street Road?
I've got good news and bad news. Bad news is we got a bill, but they're working on it to get it dropped down. But the good news we got today is I got some, we've been looking for funding sources, and I got some good stuff, and we've got potentials for some others. So we're going to follow that as well. But it looks like so far we've got $3.4 million. So that's pretty good. It's not all coming in at once.
Do you have any questions on that, Tracy?
I don't have a question. I have another topic, if you don't mind. So I wanted to bring this up. Peggy, I'll apologize for not giving you a heads up on it. It just kind of hit me today. So if anybody who was involved with the updates of the sewage ordinances remember, there used to be language in there that offered a 10% discount to individuals if they paid a year in advance. The reason we took that out was because at the time, we didn't have this approach to pocket readings, and so everybody's bill would fluctuate from month to month. It was impossible to know what 10% would be. Now that we have consistent pocket readings, it seemed to have gone very well this year. I'd like the council to reconsider reinstating the 10% discount. Of course, given that, we would have to do it within a certain window in the beginning of January because the readings go into effect January 1st. So I would envision we do it within the first week or two of January. Other than that, you have to wait till the following year to do it. But I'd like the council to reconsider that now that we have some stability in the rates.
The sewer bills you're a month behind, so what you get the first week of February is January's bill.
So can we, but you still have to, No.
February 1 to February 1.
Yeah, but like Friday, the 31st of January, the bills are going to go out with the new rates on.
Can we do the?
So you're not going to get them till like a few days later. So
Could the window be February 1st of whatever, or in the month of February or something like that?
yeah, I just so, I guess to prevent everybody walking in that last week of January and wanting to pay get their discount, and the bills aren't even out yet.
Yeah, and we can have further discussion about when you think is an appropriate time based on the cycle of sending the bills out and what your girls in your office do. But
How many people took advantage of that?
I don't know how many, but
It was a lot, yeah. And the thing that we found out is the more we talked about it, when Susan was the Gulboa city clerk, she mentioned it several times when she gave her report, and I think you did too at the start, and I mentioned it several times, and various aldermen did. And every time somebody mentioned it in a meeting, we had more people sign up for it. So I think it was kind of a learning process there, where years ago this just didn't come up for discussion very often, and fewer people took advantage of it. But a great many people did after they were aware of it.
Mr. Keller?
Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm in favor of the 10% discount. I guess the reservation I might have is that we spent a lot of time determining what these new sewer rates would be based upon the amount of money we needed to raise. And I would hate to put that out of kilter, knowing that we have to have this much money raised, and then the 10% puts that back. I don't know if that's a consideration, but so I don't know if there needs to be some number crunching to see what that might look like before we make this move, or what.
That's fair. Yeah, I will say that the total amount of money that we're going to have to borrow for the project is significantly less than Christie and them had anticipated. Don't hold me to this because I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I believe it's somewhere in the ballpark of $4 to $5 million less. So now we've got, plus we have the low interest rate that we've been guaranteed, and there was some interest that we were going to be able to save as a result of request to the state, and we were able to realize that interest savings. So I agree with you. Let's crunch some numbers on it and take a look at it, but I think we're in good shape, and without having to go into Tier 3. Because Tier 3 implements, unless we take action, January 1st of 2021. We had always hoped that we wouldn't have to do that, but we put it in just in case we had to.
Steve?
Yeah, I would just hate to allow that to happen for the people that have the means to do it. For those that have to, pay month by month, and then they would suffer if we would have to raise the rates back up to catch that.
Agreed.
Tracy, you will work on that?
Peggy and I can.
Tracy.
Peggy and I can work on that and
bring it back.
We'll bring it back at a future CAL.
Okay. There's another item that I need to bring up that potentially needs to be voted on next week if possible. Amy Gallagher at Lincoln College reached out about their Charter Day ceremony, which is Friday, February 7th at 4 o'clock. It's in the Johnson Center Auditorium, and they would like us to have the resolution, which I believe we've had in the past. Correct. So just need to see if you guys are okay with approving that so we can present that at the ceremony. Mr. Keller?
Thank you, Mayor. Just in addition, the Charter Day is a celebration we have every 5 years to celebrate the anniversary of the founding of Lincoln College. And I'm not going to do the math, but we were founded in 1865, so whatever anniversary that would be this year. But just to let you know, that's what happens and why Charter Day happens.
Ms. Barrett?
Yeah, I just had a quick thing. Is that all right?
Go for it.
So I know that Alderman Bateman had mentioned that he would like to see different vehicles colored, vehicles painted in different colors. And recently I think that we were working on a yellow truck for the wastewater folks. And we have a new truck, but it's not yellow, it's white. If the city administrator or somebody can explain why that occurred. if they were to see it.
Cost.
All right, so yeah, Steve, I don't know if you received the email that was sent out to all.
This is for the public, just so the public
yes,
would know.
it was a time issue is what it was. If we were to wait on the yellow, it was going to cause an ordering delay with the truck itself.
It would have been nice had the council had that information before the decision was made, because it was the council, I think, understanding that that's the direction that we were going to go.
I was not.
I'm not blaming anyone, but that was just a little bit of a surprise to, I think, the council when that happened.
Yeah, it did come up at the department head meeting, and it had to be, and we pretty much agreed that it was okay, so that was probably on our end, but there was an urgency to get that handled as well, so that's really what happened on that end. And then, hate to rewind, but back to the topic about the resolution. Is that okay then to place on the regular agenda or the consent agenda? Yes. Okay, just want to make sure. Ray has to be on the regular agenda. And then one other announcement I had, I did just kind of want to update you guys on the house that the high school is building down on Pekin Street. I made arrangements and walked through that with them. They are completing the house rather than selling it halfway done like they had mentioned. They're working on their figures. They're hoping to be done late April, early May, but it is very nice, and have access if any of you would like to walk through. So let me know. And Beth has a wonderful Comcast announcement for everybody.
I was going to ask you, are they expecting a profit on that house?
I don't believe they're in it to make, the money. If there is a profit, then it would have to be discussed as to what the city, and they would like to do.
Just wanted to tell you, Comcast received another letter from them, and then we also have the just about different changes again. But I wanted to tell you that we do have the channel lineups that I sent out to all the aldermen. If you'd like to have that, maybe we could post that on the website, you think, because people don't have that at home, as far as I know.
They're all different, depending on what package you buy.
Right, they've got it spread out like that. You can see it. It's kind of hard to read, but yeah, you can see it spread out. So.
Better than what we got.
Okay. All right, I did want to tell you we had a Comcast franchise meeting last week, and I thought we made really good progress on that. The lady from, the supervisor from Chicago came down, as well as our contact person from Springfield, and I thought it was a very good. We're moving closer. Okay. You want to add anything?
No, I think the details will be coming as we're ready to put it on a cow. But I would say that city held their ground on things specifically like term and stuff like that, and made sure we took into consideration all the feedback that we received about their level of service, the amenities they provide, stuff of that nature. So I think we did well.
Kevin.
So I'm going to back up to the Park District. So while Mr. Welch was talking about that and others, I logged on to the website here, and I just want to give some quick fact checking. On the City of Lincoln website, there's a random property. I don't know which one it is, but it has the little pie chart of where your taxes go, which a lot of us has pointed people to that because they think City of Lincoln charges too much taxes, and you look at the pie chart and you see we're one of the lowest entities in that pie chart. So in doing some fact checking with what Mr. Welch said, I know I've been accused of never fact checking, but that's different. A full access membership to a single adult for the Park District living inside the city limits is $250. The same membership for someone living outside the city limits is $375. Obviously, it's more money if you live outside the city limits. But as Mr. Welch said, if you go check your taxes on that property that is on our website, the taxes for the Park District is $260.75. So that makes your in-district membership $510.75, and the out-of-district is $375. Those are the concerns that have been brought up to myself, and it sounds like Mr. Welch, and I don't know about others, that we would be signing over properties to a taxing body that we pay taxes for anyway. Those are concerns I have. That's a significant amount of money difference if you add the two together, and a lot of people don't realize that your real cost to joining the park district is both of those figures together.
I have a couple more.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Make this fast, I'm sorry. Also, with the Comcast letter, I did not read it. It does say in some of the packages, the STARS is going to be removed as of February 11th of 2020. So we are working diligently trying to get some of these issues resolved and bring back some good things for the Lincoln customers. And the ARDA group gave us our $50,000 check. So we are going to help get the community energy assistance taken care of. And so thank you, Mr. Landers and Mr. Bounds, for what you're going to do. Also, I was going to mention I went out to the Cresco Labs on Saturday. That was a huge success. I don't know if you saw that or not, but I couldn't get in the door. In fact, I didn't move some people out of the way. I just wanted to say hi, is there something I could do? And then I came back out because I was getting kind of not looks, but people probably thought I was pushing in, but I wasn't. But anyway, it was really good turnout, I thought, and they're going to redo it. They're going to come back and do it some more.
Yeah, Nancy said that they had huge crowds.
It was wonderful. Okay.
Andrew, did you?
Yeah, I'd just like you all to know that we're going to have our pre-construction meeting for the Union Street Lift Station project this Thursday. This is one of the last steps before we break ground. I just thought you'd like to know that. Thank you.
Peggy?
And as I said, the new sewer bills are going out in the mail Friday. For anybody that has bill pays set up with your bank for a particular dollar amount, make sure you look at your bill and then reevaluate your bill pay. I know there's some people out there that have bill pay that probably don't even open their sewer bill because they know their bank is taking care of it and sending it. And I don't want you to open up that bill 6 months down the road and see all kinds of penalties because you didn't evaluate your bill pay. So either way, it went up. Even if you go to a different tier, you're still up $5 because of the increase.
One other quick thing I have, and I'll bring it up next week too, is we have several vacancies on the Civil Service Commission and the Police and Fire Commission, and we need people to step up or that are willing to step up for those. So if any of you aldermen have suggestions, anyone watching, anyone has any suggestions at all, please do let me know. We do have vacancies that need to be filled sooner than later. Any other announcements? Archie?
The meeting that's set for 5:30 next week, how many city employees might or could possibly show up? How many employees do we have?
You talking union employees? Or?
Yeah.
Oh, does not union? Or
just for the insurance. We've got about 17 people sitting here, and the room only holds 45.
Oh,
if there's going to be more than 30-plus employees showing up, then some of them can't get in the door because the capacity of the room's only 45. So I'll have to shoo them away.
Can you guys get engaged from your guys, and then we can...
I mean, if you're opening it up to everybody, you may have to select a larger venue.
Yep.
Just saying.
Thank you.
Police station won't hold that many.
Well, there's 50 chairs, but I mean, we can remove the chairs and people just stand there.
Mm-hmm.
What's the fire capacity?
I don't know. Tell you the truth.
I can tell you tomorrow. We can go measure it and find out. It's 45 in here.
I mean, worst case, we can look. We've done the Park District before, and we've done Lincoln College as well. They've usually been pretty generous.
I think if you put it out there that anybody from the unions can show up and talk about their insurance, they may just send their union boards in to talk about it, and then we'd be covered with the limited number of people. But if you're letting everybody show up, we'll be over capacity in the room.
So when the department heads disperse that, can you put that in your information to them, or?
Friday.
No, I'm just saying, like, if they want to have designated folks come from each, is what I'm asking.
Well, it sounds like the unions wanted specific people in the committee speaking on their behalf, so perhaps that's the way we should approach this as well. although we can't limit public participation in an open meeting, at least that'll gauge how many people will be speaking on behalf of the unions.
Could we just call a union meeting for all 3 unions, and then any of the employees that are not covered by union to come in as well? There's not very many not covered.
They don't get a voice anyway.
Right, but they should be allowed to come in.
They won't be here.
If we open it up to all union members, it won't be here.
That way we won't have a public meeting. Maybe we could get more done.
I think you have to open it up for everyone, because you might have individuals that have different ideas than the union representation, and the union representation is going to represent the union as a whole, I would imagine.
Right.
So in previous meetings where we've had excess people, they stood outside. Can we just rotate people?
We can. The room would be limited to 45 people. And
Right. But they could hear at least with the doors open. Or,
Sure, and if it's being broadcast on the television.
I would say let's do it that way if we need to. Yeah, they can stand out there, come and rotate.
We have a sergeant at arms.
Right.
Who can regulate the door.
Right. Well, sure. Is that okay with everybody? Easiest route. Okay.
I don't anticipate them all showing up.
Sure.
I hope just the union boards will show up and a few others. So, but you did open the meeting up to everybody, and I had to do the math.
I saw you counting earlier, so now that answers that. So I wondered what you were doing. Yeah. Oh. Do we have any other announcements? Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
Mr. Keller made the motion. Mr. Walsh seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Meeting is adjourned at 9:06 p.m. Thank you.